just going to fill some time for a minute while people come online. For the live tasting today, we're doing Twofold and Nova. It's pretty exciting, and then we're going to follow it up with a tour of the distillery. So if you hang around, you'll be able to do that.
We should have had a beer while we were making people wait.
Didn't think about this very well, did we?
It is early though.
Yeah, very early.
7 a.m.
7 a.m. in Australia. Not too early for 2 whiskies though.
No.
On a public holiday.
Yes.
Bank holiday, I believe they call them in the UK.
Yes.
What?
Bank holiday.
What's with the bank?
I don't know. That's what they call them.
I think that would mean that the banks are closed on that day.
I'm thinking like they make bank. Yeah, it's always struck me as odd. Because that's what.
Penalty rates.
Yeah. Am I making bank today?
No, you had a day in the Friday.
That's right. Never hurts to ask.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Surely the crowds are ravenous to get started.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can wait.
Still, maybe another 30 seconds or so.
30 seconds.
People are drained.
Alright. Coming online.
Do you need your hat, Jace?
No, I'm okay without the hat. Do you want me to wear the hat?
No, I thought you must have been wearing it. Put it in for a reason.
When the hat goes on, you got to watch out, Scott.
That's just my hat. It's sunny outside, mate.
I do like to picture you, Jace, when you're making your bitters wearing your hat stirring the big pot.
How we going, Chris?
Yeah. I reckon you can start.
Alright. G'day, good morning, good evening, welcome.
Yes, welcome.
This is Jace, head of brewing and distilling and upstream at Starward, and I'm Sam, distillery manager here at Starward. And today we're going to do a live tasting of 2 Starward whiskies. So we've got Twofold and Nova, and then we'll take some questions. So if you've got any questions, send them through, and Chris and Scott here supporting will shoot them through to us, and then we're going to do a tour of the distillery.
There's a prize for the best question too.
Best question.
So hit us with your best.
So we'll talk a bit about Starward brand. So we started distilling in 2010 out in Essendon Fields, just near the airport in Melbourne. And we released our first whiskey in 2013, which was just released the Starward, the Solera whiskey. We launched Wine Cask in 2015, and then we launched Twofold in last year? 2018.
Oh, really?
I think so.
2018.
Yeah.
October
Oh,
2018.
it's 2020 other than
Oh, okay. It's
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Wow. It is early. We haven't mentioned that.
We moved to distillery in Port Melbourne, which is where we are now, in 2016, and we've got a pretty big upgrade going on in a couple of weeks. So we're going to be ripping this floor out behind us and putting in a new distillery. We make Australian whiskey, so we're made in Melbourne, and we like to focus on our local ingredients, our local materials, so whether it's our water, our barley, our barrels, or our fermentation profile. We kind of harness what we've got here, and all our barrels are matured in this pretty dynamic environment that we've got in Melbourne. Got anything to add on the Starward story, Jace?
No, that was pretty good.
Alright. Well,
You're really good at that.
said it a couple of times. Do you want to try some whiskey?
Yeah.
We're going to show some whiskey, everyone. Good-o. What are we trying first, Jace?
Twofold.
Twofold.
Twofold, which was released in 2018 in October, and it's now 2020.
Talk to me about Twofold, Jace.
Where to start?
How do we make it?
Well, Twofold is, by nature, it has 2 grains in it, so I guess it's a blended malt. We have a wheat spirit and a barley spirit. The wheat spirit is produced off-site with a partnered company up in New South Wales, so probably 8 hours from here?
Yep.
If you were driving,
Yep.
a couple of hours by flight. And obviously the malted barley side of it is made, right here behind us. All aged in, or matured, aged in red wine casks, which we source as well from Australia, and we blend it all up, and we have this, very approachable, I guess, entry into the Starward brand or portfolio of whiskies. So yeah, it's a little, I guess, lighter than what you'd expect from our single malt varieties, but it's an exciting whiskey. This is what we like to open with and present to the world.
Yeah, the wheat gives it a real softness that we don't get as much with the single malt. Like the single malt's much fuller and richer and intense in flavour, and the twofold with the wheat component's got a lovely softness, really approachable, and the wheat gives a lovely palate for the single malt character to play through on with the malt spirit coming through, so they work really well together. It's quite approachable. We really like that about Twofolds. It's a really good whiskey to drink either neat, it's a lovely neat whiskey just as a pretty simple dram, or really great mixed, good in a highball. Works pretty well with a lot of drinks. Really lovely orchard fruit profile from the spirit, so that keeps it pretty fresh, and then quite a bit of red fruit character from the barrels. Lovely oak character from a lot of American oak that the wheat spirit goes into, so it keeps it really lovely and vanilla and oaky. And just a clean finish, so it's pretty smooth.
So, yeah, the bottle.
Sorry, I'm just going to look at these questions here.
The bottle's got the tea on it.
Twofold's got the teeth.
Twofold's got the T. T, yes. T for twofold. Tea time. Any other tea jokes, Jace?
I don't get that joke at all. It's gone straight over my head. Tea.
This is good having a live feed. So yeah, lovely smooth, quite dry. Yeah, both of those are spot on. So smooth is something that we really tried to achieve with this whiskey. Like it's sort of a bit of a cliched whiskey term, I think, smooth, but there's some validity in it, and I think for this sort of whiskey, it's approachable whiskey, it's really a lovely thing, soft, smooth,
yeah. Lots of big oak character. That's kind of a trademark of all our products. Again, we have a lot of extractive wood character. It's a vanilla, spice vanilla, I would say.
And the quality of the oak in the wine barrels is really, really good. Like the wineries use the barrels for 5 to 6 years. Oh yeah, good. How long in the barrel? This is great.
Straight away.
How long in the barrel, Jace?
How long in the barrel? Well, normally when I get asked this question at a tasting, I'll get everyone to guess how long it's been in the barrel for, before answering directly. So, have a guess. How interactive are we?
Yeah, we'll be pretty interactive.
Wow.
We'll see what the guesses come back with. I'll wait till we get 3 and then we'll reveal.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Subtle spice.
Subtle spice.
Subtle spice.
Notes of subtle spice.
Constantly. Lots of berries. We get a lot of banana character. That often comes up in a lot of our tastings. I feel like especially in our single malts, a lot of people get dried bananas and things like that. Red berries. Stacks of dried fruit. Apricot's a big one for me with this one, dried apricot.
So I've got a question here, Jason, from Ian. I believe you used to put the distillate in at 63%, whereas now it goes in at 55. Is that right? And what are the reasons for it?
We used to put the distillate in, I think we always have gone 55. There was 65 for a little while there when we were experimenting. 55 we go with now, that is correct. Good amount of homework done there.
So we did actually go in at 63 at the start.
How long?
Probably a couple of years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then we did some trials, different fill strengths.
I know there was a few 70s as well.
Yeah, we did something at 70.
Yeah.
But we found the 55 to work really well. We have a lovely softer profile. It was less harsh. We found stuff that went in at 63 or higher was a bit harsher and hotter, even when we cut it back to the same strength. So pretty early on, we made the move to 55, and then we've sort of seen a lot of bourbon distilleries do a similar thing. Just it suits their climate and their wood profile, and we've got a lot in common with that sort of bourbon maturation in that it's really hot and cold and quite dry. So it's worked really well for us going in at the lower strengths.
We found that 55 is a good. I mean, we're trying to combat getting too much extractive wood character. So 55 is a pretty good safe point there.
All right, we've had four numbers on the age. So we've got Jim with 2 to 3 years. We've got Ian with 4 years. We've got Sam with 5. And we've got Paul with more than 4.
No more than 4.
We also had another question, Sam, around yeast.
Hang on, Scott. I can only do one at a time, mate. We'll get there. All right. So this would be sitting at about, this twofold will be about 3 years. There'll probably be some that's just creeping. Oh no, we're in the UK. This is all 3 years.
Yep. All 3 years.
Yes, this will be 3 years old basically, and we go 3 to 4 years in barrel. So
3 years would be the youngest whiskey that's in the bottle, and we drew across a blend, probably going up to 6, I guess. Maybe not so high with twofold, but yeah, it's a wide range of ages there, but 3 years.
Yeah.
And there was a question about yeast.
Yeah, the question about yeast, Jace, was what yeast strain do you use? I think. Pick it up here. Yeah, scroll down.
What kind of yeast do you use?
We use definitely in single malt production. We use 2 different strains of yeast. One's a distilling strain. The second strain is a brewing strain. So that's where a lot of those, fermentation ester productions form, mainly from those yeast that we use in brewing for beers. So it's pretty similar to a Belgian style yeast. And then the distilling strain is a workhorse. That's for our attenuation. So we're making sure we're eating through all the sugars and turning it into alcohol. So that Belgian strain is a big part of our character, and we use a lot of that influence from, again, bourbon production, how they manipulate their spirit character with different yeast strains.
Yeah, really trying to get the ester profile right in the fermentation, and then kind of get it right as the wash. So we really like to make sure our wash is great. We taste it every day, and then in the spirit distillation, we kind of harness that ester profile that we get from the yeast. So really begin with that fermentation in mind of coming through into the spirit. What happens if you leave it in the barrel longer? Does it get even darker and more fruity, spicy? From Jim.
Good question, Jim. You get a lot more of that spicy vanilla wood character. It kind of becomes one-dimensional, as in it just tastes like wood, which is great sometimes in a whiskey, and we've done that before. But when we're putting together twofold or Nova or Solera, we definitely want to try and tame that wood character down, and want to get a lot more of that fruity, red wine character coming out, rather than just sucking on an oak stave.
Yeah, it's really about balance, and we find that in this maturation environment, if we go too long in wood, so pushing that 5-6 years, it really does push heavily on the wood side. Because the wine barrels have quite a lot of extraction left in them, that we find that 3 to 4 year marks more balanced. But we will do some stuff longer, and so some stuff that comes out on the projects label will be a bit longer in wood, but it definitely pushes up that kind of tannin and extractive wood side.
We'd also lose a lot of volume. We'd probably have our cask 50% full if we were to go like 10 years. It would just evaporate.
Yeah, we've got high losses here in the environment, so we're losing 3 to 5% per year, so it adds up pretty quick.
Why are we losing so much?
It's very warm climate in Australia, and it's quite dry, so we're losing more water than we are alcohol, but overall, because it's quite high temperature, we lose quite a lot of booze to evaporation.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions on the twofold, or do we want to move on?
How are we going? I'm happy Nick up to?
What barrels are used? Which I think feeds into an email question as well.
What was the email question? Good segues.
I think the email question was pretty similar. From Gary Lewis, is a particular cask more suited to a particular whiskey? E.g. Nova more suited to a Shiraz cask? Yeah, good one. What do we use, Jace?
Well, we use red wine barrels. Obviously, both of these whiskies that we're trying today have been aged in red wine barrels across a variety of sizes. So mainly barriques and hogs, or 220-litre casks and 300-litre casks. We use French and American oak. We char a lot of our casks as well, so similar as you'd see in a bourbon production. Is a whiskey more suited to a certain cask type? I'd say yes, but
we find a lot of the hogsheads that we use, so 300-litre barrels, we typically ex-Shiraz or ex-Cab Sav and American oak coming out of the Barossa. They're really well suited to. We use them a lot in twofold. They're really good at really good clean American oak toasty flavour. They're really good at kind of like lovely red fruit, berries flavour coming through, and it works really well for that. And then more of the French oak kind of getting lighter styles.
Yeah.
So stuff out of the Yarra Valley, and we'll get more Pinot in that. And then that's kind of got a lot more spiciness, a lot less of that just rich American oak flavour, and more tighter spice, a lot more sort of complex flavour. So they work really well together. So always when we're pulling these whiskies together, we like to bring those two components together, the American oak and the French oak, and from different wines, because they really work together to make the finished whiskey. In isolation, they're not as good as they are together, I think. What else we got? Would you rechar your barrels? This screen's not big enough, so I'm losing these questions. Would you rechar your barrels? We do rechar some, so some wine barrels will get charred before we use them, so it'll be a light shave and a char, and then sometimes after we've used them, we'll send them back to the cooper and get some charred. So we use a portion of char in our process, and we'll maintain that. We find it works well with the fresh barrels in combination, so we use 50-60% fresh barrels and about 40-50% charred barrels.
Charring a barrel essentially just, brings new life to it. Skin it back, get a new layer of flavour.
There's a question from Stephen about what barley are you using?
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm losing these questions pretty quick.
They're flying in, are they?
Yeah.
Flying in, Jace. What barley do we use, Jace?
Currently we're sourcing our barley from South Australia, so that's about 9 hours, west from Melbourne.
Yep.
So grown over there. And previously we have used barley that's grown also in Victoria, and we're sourcing that from the Cooper's malting, so the Cooper's Brewery. I'm sure everyone's aware of Cooper's, and they've got a state-of-the-art new malting, and it's just a simple, Pilsner style barley, and the barley variety currently is named Spartacus, and just locally grown barley. It's pretty simple stuff. It's great barley. It's as good as we can get in Australia. We like its flavour profile, and we like how quickly we can get it over here, and that's a big part of our portfolio is making sure that barley variety is spot on.
Yeah, we don't have distilling malt, like there's not such a distilling industry as in the UK, and so we don't have access to off-the-shelf distilling malt, so we have to work pretty closely with the maltsters to get something that's right for us. So a lot of the local barley's kind of grown and developed for export brewing, so they're making quite dry beers, and that is really suitable for us as well. So those varieties that work for that also work for us, so we've been able to work with those varieties. So we're using Spartacus currently, we've used Scope in the past, Latrobe,
Bodine. I mean, these are malt varieties, probably.
Yeah. So we're pretty lucky here that we've got pretty good quality grain. The other question was, Yeah, so this is all. We're not finishing in barrels.
Oh, no. It's all matured, all aged. Yeah, no finished. All spent their whole life in a red wine cask of some variety.
Yep. We really like to see the effect of whole term maturation rather than finishing. Like finishing is a really good way to give whiskey a different character at the end, but we find with full term maturation you really get the whole thing, and it's just how we like to make it. It's a real commitment to red wine barrels, which not too many other distilleries are doing, so it's pretty fun.
Did you see the one about did you use casks that previously held sweet wines?
We have. We've got a lot of casks out there that we're experimenting with. We have had a few that had sweet wines in it. Have we released any? We must be getting close.
Well, 20 is sort of sweet.
Oh yeah, 20. That's a fortified wine, but that's sweet. Yeah.
That'll be hitting the UK next month.
So 20 will be arriving in the UK next month, so keep an eye out for that. It's got a blue label, Starward 20. So that's matured in 20 casks.
What's 20, Sam?
20.
Isn't that an owl?
No,
Or a frog?
20 owl. 20 is our name for port, essentially.
Yeah.
So, dark fortified wine, relatively sweet. We do a lot of maturation in fortified wine barrels. And that gets, that's 2 tranches of barrels, so 100 litre barrels out of your lumber that were making 20, and then they were filled fresh, and then 100 litre barrels from SA cooperage that were recoopered, so a mix of fresh and charred 20 barrels.
Yeah.
We fill quite a bit of sweet wine barrels when we find them. It's just about how many we can find because there's not that much production of those wines. So whenever we can find them, we fill them, but we can't get enough. We can't get enough of them.
One question we do have, Sam. Are we using, or is there any plans to use bourbon casks for maturation?
I love bourbon casks.
Sam's a
Thanks, Joe.
big fan of bourbon casks. We've done a lot of bourbon casks, and I believe there's more coming out. I'm not sure in the UK if you've had the bourbon casks.
Yeah, bourbon casks went over to the UK.
You might be able to find it then.
Yeah.
Check the whiskey shop.
Yep.
Maybe they have.
We really like them. We fill a small amount every year. They give a really good clean base for our spirit to shine through. So the bourbon casks are really good at letting the Starward spirit really pop. But they take a bit longer to mature, so typically 5-6 years for bourbon cask we're finding. So there's always a little bit, but it's something that you just have to keep an eye out for. Jim's asking, why are you using wine glasses, Jace?
I don't know, it's a pretty small wine glass, I'd say. I wouldn't want to drink wine out of that. I guess you could though. It works for us, it holds the whiskey, you can get it to your mouth in there. It's fun to spin it around.
Yep.
That's always a good time. I don't know, this is what we've always drank whiskey out of these wine glasses. Maybe we drink too much wine in Australia and we just went with wine glasses.
Yeah, we used to taste with the little kind of shorter standard wine glasses, but then the bar got these in and we really like them. They're great because you can kind of fit a bit in there, hold them really easily. I prefer them to the...
See the old...
7:30 in the morning, mate.
Distiller's cologne. Everyone's looking for a hot tip, that's how you get it done.
No, they're great. They're really fun to drink from. We really like them. I can't drink out of a mix of either this or a tumbler. But
give it a shot, Jim. It's a wild time.
We had a question about racking of barrels down the list.
Yeah.
Sam's got a memory.
Racking of barrels.
Yeah.
I'm onto the Nova, by the way. Just charging ahead.
All right.
No, what was the question?
No, about how do we rack our barrels, Jace?
How do we rack our barrels?
Are they?
Do you
Oh,
rotate them top to bottom?
Top to bottom. They're on barrel racks. Hang around, whoever asked that question, and we'll show you the bomb store, and you can see how we do it. But previously we've had them on pallets and stacked them, I guess, on pallets, so so they're stacked horizontally rather than vertically, and it's just easier to handle and safer, probably more importantly.
They work really well. We can stack them quite high. We get good airflow through them, so they kind of change temperature quite quickly. And it's just an effective way for us to stack lots of barrels and be able to get into them really easily. So we're really happy with how that works.
Yep.
We don't rotate them. We just leave them. If they're at the top, they're at the top. If they're at the bottom, they're at the bottom. And then when we pull a blend together, we kind of like that variation in the barrels. We find it gives us a bit more to blend with. So it's easier and it works for us on the blending side.
I think Darren just joined. I know we've already touched on it, but Peter also asked about how we considered ABV to say 46%, which probably you can answer Darren's question as well in regard to the Angel Sherry.
So ABV, look, we do some projects. Typically, we'd release at 48%. That's kind of our non-chill filtered strength that we'll do. We did some work really early on, and we found that we preferred our whiskey chill filtered than not, and we like it at lower strengths typically. Like, we find that it's a bit more approachable and softer and a bit more balanced at lower ABVs. So two-folds at 40% and over at 41. And to our surprise, chill filtration really made the whiskey a bit more pleasant. We did
Brightens it up quite a bit.
Yeah, blind sensory, and we were expecting to not chill filter, and then when we did the sensory work, we found that we preferred it. So we'll do it for non-core releases. So if there's projects going over, we'll go at 48% and not chill filter. But I know that wasn't the question, but kind of leads into it. Yeah, so keep an eye out on projects, Peter, and we'll see some stuff at higher booze. And then loses to Angel Share. So Darren, it depends on the barrel. So a smaller barrel will lose a bit more than a bigger barrel, but typically we're losing between 3 to 5% per year. So that works out to be, from a 220 litre barrel, we might get 108 liters out.
Yeah, we lose nearly 10% across 5 years in the barrel.
Yeah.
So, if you got 1 million litres of whiskey aging, 10% of that every year. Yeah.
We've got another question here about
about the still arms.
Oh, geez, that's going back.
Still
Do you want me to
still
read
arms.
out the question?
Yeah, can you please read out the question,
The line arms on your still look quite long for the size of the stills. Was this to extend copper influence as much as possible?
They're not that long. I think it might just be the angle.
Yeah, perspective.
We'll have a look at that a little later, but they're not that long. But you're right. If you wanted to increase copper contact, you'd have that line arm quite long.
Yeah.
But that's not at all what we've done with those. We'll touch on this later as well. But there's a jacket on the spirit steel that kind of increases reflux, and that helps us a lot with getting what we consider a very clean spirit.
Yeah.
It's not super clean, but based off what we've tried from other distilleries, it's quite a bit cleaner. Yeah.
Where does our water come from?
Yeah, that's also, we got that by email as well. So it's Martin on the Facebook and Paul on the email coming through earlier. So water source, Jace.
Just good old Melbourne water that we carbon filter. So we're very, very lucky in Melbourne to have amazing water. It's perfect for, particularly if you're brewing an amber style beer. The pH range is pretty bang on. We're just very lucky to have a fantastic water source across the whole city. So we don't have to do much to the water. We add a little bit of calcium chloride. That's to help. We're getting pretty technical here, but that's to help us with our conversion in our mash and to help us hit our flavour portfolio. But essentially, if you ever get the chance to come to Melbourne, try the whiskey first and then follow it up with a glass of fresh Melbourne water that doesn't need much treatment at all. It's perfect for brewing. It makes our job here so easy.
Yeah.
So easy when it comes to brewing.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have great catchments around. So lots of big catchment areas, around Melbourne that are beautiful parts of the world, and then we basically get that water sent to us, and then we'll give it a live filter here. So we're really happy with that, and we've been using it always.
We're just filtering out particulates, so whatever else. Fun fact, Sam, I can now walk my dog and see the water catchments. Yeah, I don't let the dog go in there.
I was going to say it's,
Yep. Just stare at it and go, wow, there's a lot of whiskey there to be made.
Bourbon cask maturation. How long do you think the spirit would hold up with your climate before getting too oaky? And same with the wine casks from Joe Blogs. Thanks, Joe.
Good.
Bourbon cask maturation. Yeah.
Bourbon casks tend to be quite. I mean, I think it's the way they're produced in the US, but you see them come in and they're spent. You know, the staves are very, very thin compared to what you get out of, especially for bourbon casks. Like they're quite a lot thinner, and they even just look exhausted. And they're only made for single use, and therefore the bourbon producers get a whole lot out of them straight away. A lot of that awesome American oak character that you'd expect when you're drinking a bourbon, which I love. So they would typically take, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, and then you're not really getting much more out of it over more time. A red wine cask that we get, especially if it's fresh, we're getting character out of it probably again up to 6 years, and then you're not really getting much more out of it. If it's recharred, you might get a little more, but again, you get to the point where you're just getting extractive oak character, not so much. We want those lovely red wine fruity characters, and given our climate, they tend to come out front forward on early, to the point like if you're trying our whiskey at 2 years old, you probably think it's a little underdone. It's that third year that really it progresses in its oak character.
Yeah, I think 6 years for us is old. Like that's pretty old whiskey. In terms of flavour profile, and we kind of see that as a bit of a, if we're getting up to that point, then it's probably long enough in wood before it gets too intense and goes a bit over the hill. So they've really got to peak. It's really not about continually getting better. It's for us, it's about picking it when it's at its peak, and that balance is just right. And if we go too long in wood, then it just gets over that optimum point. So that's what we really focus on.
One new question from Nick.
Nick, how much of your system is sustainable from Victoria?
Sustainable from Victoria.
Sourced from Victoria.
Oh, sourced.
When I was over in Aussie, it was a big thing to go state support as much as possible. Yeah, so we really like getting stuff as close as we can. So we talk about a day's drive, which, given states are pretty big here, pretty much Victoria, and then we'll kind of push into South Australia for wine barrels and for malting. And we get our wheat spirit from New South Wales, but Victoria's our first port of call when it comes to sourcing stuff. So we really like getting stuff as close as we can. So our water, a lot of our barrels, a lot of our barley over time has been from Victoria. We're pretty big on it.
Yeah.
Did you want to push on to Nova?
Yeah, we probably should. How's your Nova tasting, Jace?
Great.
So Nova is our single malt whiskey. So this is basically all made here at our distillery, all matured in Australian red wine barrels, mix of French oak and American oak, and bigger whiskey than the twofold. So because it's all single malt whiskey, it's got a lot more flavour intensity.
It's like the big brother of twofold in terms of flavour and everything that it presents. The big thing that jumps out for me when comparing it to twofold is that chocolate flavour that I've been drinking it for a while, and the chocolate, it's great. I love chocolate. It's much full of mouthfeel. It's a single malt whiskey. It's made to be drank definitely neat. I mean, you can add a bit of water to it. Really opens it up a bit. I might do that now.
Yeah, we quite like adding water to whiskey as well. I think we do a lot of our tasting work at about 20% ABV. So we'll happily cut stuff in half. And while you lose a lot of that alcohol perception, and it opens the whiskey right up, and you can taste a lot more. So we'll happily add water to whiskeys to help taste them. The alcohol strength is really nice because it gives a lot of body and fullness, but you can taste a lot more when you add a bit of water in as well.
But yeah, again, similar to the twofold, a lot of berry character, loads of luscious, big malt, barley malt character to kind of really round out
We're
the
getting
palate.
on to food and cheese, Jace. This is getting good.
And it's very dry. Food and cheese.
What cheese would you recommend to try it with?
All the cheeses. For sure, the moldier, the stinkier, the danker, the better.
Stilton, Rockford,
Yeah,
get in there.
yeah. Just big cheese. Yeah.
Where's that cheese?
Yeah. We should have a cheese platter.
What about food pairings more broadly?
I think pavlova came up last time. Pavlova.
Can't go past it.
Yeah.
Tropical fruits.
Yeah.
Cream, whiskey.
Cheese is really good. Sweets as well. So after you've had your dinner, where you're hopefully just drinking highballs, you get straight onto your chocolate mud cake and you have it with Nova. Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to think of. I had kangaroo tail the other day. That's right. And I had some whiskey with it. It's gone full Australian variety.
How's it cooked?
I smoked it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Smoked kangaroo tail.
Yeah. Laced with pepperberry.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very Australian, Jace.
I know. Just killed a kangaroo, chopped off its tail, left the rest for the dog.
Oh dear. Yeah. Jeez.
I'm told not to talk about the kangaroo.
Yeah.
We've been barred. Back to pavlova.
There's a comment about Nova having similar nose to port finished whiskies.
Yeah, so it's still wine, right? So we find that you still get a lot of those similar flavour cues. So it's not as sweet or rich or kind of dark as fortified wines or port wines, but you still get a lot of similar kind of wine flavour cues that you'll see common between a fortified and a table wine. So yeah, it's definitely pretty true comment. Like there's similarities between this and fortified wine finished whiskies. I think Jim's asked, with chocolate, Jim. So there's definitely kind of from the oak, you get a real chocolatey character as well as the caramel from the oak. So kind of get them both there. The French oak can be quite chocolatey when it's
Yeah, I think it comes from a lot of those toasted rather than charred French casks. The toasting's more like a, I guess it's nutmeg and all that kind of stuff. Hazelnut.
Is all your production producing your own bottles, or do you supply other blends? No, it's all ours. So we basically pretty much what we make is what we make, and we don't supply whiskey to anyone else. So we're having enough trouble keeping up. So yeah. What else? Prawns from the Barbie. Jeez. Prawns.
What was the question? Or
No,
was it more of a comment?
It was a comment, I think, from Paul. Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Prawns from the bar.
Do you maybe want to touch on sensory at all, Sam?
Sensory of Nova.
Or downstream, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So what we do, so blending. So we spend a lot of time working through casks. So we'll taste each cask. We taste it at kind of 2 years. We go through every barrel and see how it's going, and that's kind of a pretty quick assessment because we're going through 20, 30 barrels a day. So it's got to be quite quick.
I think we're tasting nearly 40 casks a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we get a blend together, we'll kind of pick out sort of a row of barrels and then work through them and find the ones that are looking really good, and then we'll put a blend together from those barrels. We kind of know what proportions of barrels, so whether it's going to be French oak or American oak, what sort of wines we're trying to pull together, and then we'll taste it, and we'll have a few goes until we get it sort of into the right spot, and then we'll do blind sensory. So we do triangles a lot. So you've got 3 glasses, 2 whiskies the same, one's different, and you've got to try and pick out the odd one, which is quite challenging. So we do a lot of sensory training with our team here, so we'll taste that and make sure it's in spec and we're happy with it, and then if it is, then we'll move forward and release it. But a lot of time nosing and tasting whiskey to get it right. So it's a hard job. I know people think that's pretty funny, but it's quite challenging.
For sure.
Jeez, Jace, look at the time. We might do a quick walk around.
Crikey.
So we're going to do a quick tour. The audio might be a bit challenging, so we're going to have to speak up, but basically we'll walk through our process quickly, and we're going to try and do questions, or he's going to do the tour.
We can do them on the fly. I'll just shut
Okay.
them out.
Yeah, so ask questions as we go, and we'll see how we go. Should be fun.
Yeah, the more questions the better.
Yeah.
Gives us stuff to talk about.
Let's go. Oi. Yes. Alright, come this way.
Getting old, Sam.
This is good.
That was quite a croaky.
We're going to have to get them on a 5 years, Jace.
You want to just start talking, make
Alright.
sure everyone can hear.
Sorry. So we're going to run through our production process. So we'll start talking about our raw materials. We'll talk about the barley and the milling. Have we got some barley around, Jace, that we can look at?
Yeah. Here's some barley. Is this going to work?
Yeah, hold it real close.
I put it in my hand.
Oh. Hand
This-
models.
Can you see that? I've washed my hands recently.
Sure can.
So this is our barley. This is what we've been, using to make whiskey with for a while. And then we crush it in a mill over there. We've got a 4-roll mill, and we end up with something similar to that. So quite a light barley, and that's what we use in our brewing process. And we will hydrate this with some hot water. We just do a single infusion mash into our mash tun here, which that wasn't on camera. How much? Okay, this is our mash tun here. It's about 5,000 litres in volume. We do 1.2 ton of barley each brew run, and we do 3 of those a day. And again, just simple single infusion mash. Run it out through the bottom, and then into one of our 4 FVs along the back here, which I'm not sure you can see. We'll have a look at those a bit later on. Go, maybe now. So these are our fermentation vessels, behind us here. They're 20,000 litre tanks, stainless steel, actually ex-wine vat. And that's where we pitch our yeast, and all our fermentation happens. Fermentation for us is carried out in 3 days, and we ferment quite hot. Our fermentation, temperatures are up into 30 degrees Celsius, so quite hot, quite fast. A lot of ester production, and we're getting rid of all that sugar and turning it into delicious alcohol. Not as fast as possible, but as fast as we'd like to do in our production method. It's too bad you guys aren't here to be able to try some of our wash, but what you would expect is really big, strong Belgian or Abbey kind of style beer. So lots of phenolics, lots of fruit character, and you can drink it by the pint. It's quite acidic. Obviously we don't boil our wort at all, or our wash, so a lot of lactic acid. It's quite good. If you ever get a chance to come to the distillery, please do. Yeah. Once fermentation's done, obviously we're into distillation. Too bad we can't go right around the other side. They're the stupid DJ booth there. These are our stills. This is a Frilly still, so from Italy. We just do a very simple double pot distillation that's, used for a lot of whiskey production. And then we've got a Tasmanian made, our spirit still here, made down in Tassie, Naparua. A wash still, we charge it. Our wash is normally between 8.5%. We'll charge this guy 3,000 litres at a time and collect roughly 1,300 litres of wash at about 22%. And that looks similar to this. Thanks, Sam.
It's alright.
So, this is a wash. We get a lot of copper sulfate, so, we're stripping that copper out of the still. But it's doing its job. It's getting rid of that sulfur character. No one wants that in their finished whiskey. Then we'll move on to our spirit still. Obviously, we control our process a bit more. We dial in our spirit production. The big difference here, which you mightn't see very often, is we have a jacket on our spirit still neck. So that jacket just allows us to really control our spirit character. So we touched on this a bit earlier, but it's a lot, we can make it a lot cleaner here. Also the stills aren't a matched pair, so this kind of helps us, allows us to have a much larger wash still and a smaller spirit still. But again, it's a big part of our character and what we're trying to do.
There's a question from Philip.
Yep.
Have you experimented with fermentation times?
Yeah, we have. Yep, we've done a week. We've done, I've probably done 2 days, accidentally. We definitely prefer the 3-day fermentation time.
It's kind of the cleanest, and the best character. And as it gets longer, like past that, 4 days is okay, 5 days is okay, and then beyond that, it starts getting quite funky and sour, and it gets too far down the kind of bacterial part. So we like that 3 to 5 day time period.
Yeah. If we let it go any longer, we're trying to produce our product, and 3 days is a sweet spot. Any longer, we don't get anything from it. If anything, it gets more sulfury. It's pretty typical. But we've tried 7 days. We've tried 10 days. 3 days works best for us. Yeah.
So spirit's coming off the still at 72% alcohol pretty much, and then it's really clean, bright, fruity, spicy, and if that's good, then we'll put it in barrels. So we have a look at the barrels.
Yep. Let's go have a look at the bond store. Any more questions, Chris?
Not just yet.
You're answering them all, Jace.
G'day, guys. We got some viz on.
Yeah.
Put a viz on.
There you go, Jace.
Viz for the crew.
Mate. Yeah.
So, someone did ask before. It's like a little
Disco
if I can
vest.
get a tour next month.
So we've got a big upgrade coming up. So 3 weeks, we're basically ripping this floor out, putting in a mezzanine. So we'll have a mezzanine 3 meters up. Hey, Jace, looking good. And doubling our capacity. So we're going to be closed for 3 months while we do that. When we open back up, it'll be same mash tun, same wash still, but the wash still will become our spirit still. A new frilly wash still, 7,000 litre wash still, and a lot more pipe work and engineering going into it, and it'll just be able to run a bit more smoothly, and we'll be able to make double the amount of spirit, so you guys get more Starward. That'll be fun.
Real fun.
Let's go see some barrels, Jace. Barrels you want to look at?
How many casks do you fill a year?
We fill,
Kevin?
jeez, we're filling,
100,000 litres? Oh, nearly.
well, we're filling probably 300 barrels a month at the moment. So, 3,500 barrels a year. And when we double capacity, that'll pretty much double. So, yeah, it's quite a lot of barrels. They're mostly coming out of the Australian wine industry, as I've spoken about. So we can see here, these are all hogsheads out of South Australia. So hogsheads are 300 litre barrels. Those are all American oak. So basically you can see here at the start, this A indicates American oak. Some of these barrels have got forest provenance, so that's Shandong oak, so they go back to forest provenance, which is really great. And these are fantastic. These are a bit of a workhorse barrel for us. We get really good results, and we'll fill them mostly fresh, and then we get some of these charred as well. But these are fantastic barrels. What else have we got?
A question, was dunnage warehousing ever considered?
We did originally. It's painful to work with. It's a nightmare for handling and getting barrel samples. And
It's not safe.
It's not safe.
It's just too much movement. Like, you know, an empty barrel weighs 60 kilos, full barrels, close to 300 kilos. I'm not Donkey Kong, none of the guys here who work, some of them probably are, but yeah, it's just not practical.
And just able to get whiskey out quickly. This is a really good way to be able to get access to the whiskey, store it safely, know where it is, and then just be able to get it when you need it. So we've been really happy. This is a common method in the Australian wine industry, and that's why we've kind of used this method. Like, we're using Australian wine barrels, it makes sense to use a similar method for their storage of whiskey, so we're really happy with it. What else have we got here?
Let's have a look at what other cask varieties we got.
Stephen in Scotland, would you do single cask editions? And would we be able to get it in Scotland?
Good question, Stephen. We are looking at doing some single barrel stuff, and we've done a little bit. So we've done some in Australia, working with either bars or partners that we want to do a release with. We've done, I think there's been a couple in the UK, and we've done some in the US as well. So single barrels are something we're looking at doing, because we know that people love to try a single barrel and get to see just what one barrel can do. So when we've got barrels that are really special and they've got a flavour characteristic that's great, then we'll put that aside and be able to release that. So it's something we're looking at doing, yeah.
Do you do a smoky malt?
We've actually got, it's a good spot. If you have a look here, we've got small amount of project stuff that's smoked, but typically we don't do any peated or smoked production. So
Hey, that's a hot
yeah.
secret. You just gave
I
away.
know. Don't tell anyone about that. No, it's not part of our core, but we will do it for fun. But we're not trying to make. We're trying to make a whiskey local to us, and peat isn't something that we've got around us. So we're really happy making unpeated whiskey. But we do like smoke. We do like smoke, so we'll play around with it every now and then.
That's a good segue as well. Has the fires affected us here out at Melbourne? Not at all. We're pretty lucky to be in the city, so we had some smoke, but it hasn't infused to our whiskey character.
Yeah.
Probably quite fortunately.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. We've been lucky that all of our suppliers pretty much haven't been affected, and there's been people that have been affected that we know, but no one at the distillery, so we're pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Should
we have a little look further down?
Yeah, for sure.
Is there another question?
Yeah, there's another question. Does the height of the barrel from the floor have any noticeable effects on the whiskey?
Yeah,
From
so I'm not sure if you can see the ceiling here, but I mean it's pretty simple stuff. The higher up they are, the hotter it is. Today it's probably going to be about 30 degrees Celsius, and down on the ground, especially where we are here, it's concrete. It'll kind of stay a bit more stable, whereas towards the top of the stack, it's getting a lot hotter.
So that's 5 metres up, those tops of barrels, and that'll be about 5 degrees warmer. We find that, so we track temperature in our warehouses, and pretty consistent. The higher up it is, the hotter it is, and so we'll see that when we taste barrels. We'll know if it's a top barrel or a bottom barrel, just based on how much temperature that's had affected.
It's just another tool we can use when we're looking at blending. You can look at the top barrels, and you can safely say that they're going to be, I guess, somewhat a little tasting more matured than they would at the bottom. There's some bourbon casks up here. We were talking about those earlier, but Turkey.
And you can see, I think Jason was talking about before, the quality of the barrels. You can see the bourbon barrels, just that level of construction isn't the same as a wine barrel. So we really like the wine barrels because they're built to last, and they're built with a lot more quality in mind, whereas the bourbon barrel is kind of designed for single use. So thickness of the staves, quality of the oak, quality of construction between the wine barrels and the bourbon barrels is just completely different. So we love bourbon barrels, but it's never going to be a big thing for us.
Seafarers down here, Sam.
What?
Another question. Would you move some casks to Tassie to mature with the help of one of their distilleries, swapping to use your warehouse? Could be from a Tasmanian distiller.
We've done that before. Yeah. We could do that. Yep.
We're open to collaboration and working with other distilleries, and if there's something interesting going to come out the other end, then we're always happy to do it.
Who's the name there?
Yeah.
Paul Newcomb.
Send us an email, Paul.
Please.
Is there any temp control in there?
Nah, there's no temp control. This is, it's a big shed really. Temperature control. I don't know. We might open a door up the front and try to get a breeze in because everyone's sweating bullets, but. Let more hot air in. But no, there's no temp control in here. Something that we'd thought about early on, but no, we want to get that hot and then that cool coming through because it just allows us to kind of, shape our maturation how we want to do it.
Yeah, it's a tin shed. There's no insulation. When it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold. We get really big peaks and really big troughs, and that's all part of the maturation process. So we embrace that. That's part of making whiskey in Melbourne and what we like doing. We've got some sherry barrels up there, Jace.
Oh yeah, wow.
So those are sherry barrels. This is where Apera comes from. So ex-sherry production, recoopered at SA Cooperage, and that's where we make our Solera product. But we just can't get many of these barrels. So the reason we can't do much Solera is because we can't get many of these barrels. So whenever we find them, we get them, but they're in short supply. What else have we got?
There's a question from Kevin. He works at a local distillery. He works in cooperage at a local distillery in Scotland. Do you guys have coopers to fix and repair casks?
We do stuff mostly in-house. We'll do really light work that we can do, but typically we work with a couple of cooperages and send stuff over to them to do. So we kind of rely on them. Mostly based in South Australia because of the wine industry. So at this point in time, we basically send it out to cooperages that we work with.
It'd be great to have a cooper here, but I'm sure Kevin knows you guys are hard to find.
Yep,
especially in Australia.
What else have we got? We've got some little barrels, Jace.
Oh yeah, these. So these are we used to use these quite a bit in the early days, but that's a 50-litre quarter cask. That's bloody empty. That's another quarter cask, and then there's a 100-litre guy here as well.
So we find really high level of extraction from these, so they're really good at producing a really extractive whiskey quite quickly. We use these a lot at the start, so 2010, through to 2013, I guess we were filling a lot of these size barrels, but what we found was the level of extraction was kind of higher than the level of maturation, and so they worked well in a blend, but overall they were a bit too extractive. So we moved to larger format barrels, and we're really happy with a larger format. 100-litre size is really good. Still quite a high level of extraction, but a bit more balanced than a 50-litre. And we can still get these from a winery in South Australia, Yalumba, so they do an octave barrel, a 100-litre barrel at their own cooperage there. We'll get those whenever we can get them, but there's not many of those. And then typically it'll be the barriques, so 225 litres, or hogsheads, so 300-litre barrels. And these are all recoopered sherry barrels, so they would have come out of a sherry producer, gone to SA Cooperage to be recoopered, and then they were cut down and made into these sizes and charred, so they've kind of had a life. And then these are second fills, I guess, but they're now empty, so they've had a bit of life at the distillery, so now we'll be looking to retire those barrels. What else have we got, Jason? I think we've got some project barrels up here. We've got some Masala here.
Oh yeah, Masala carb.
So, fortified wines. So we work with a few wineries. This has come out of Calabria, and they do a lot of fortified wines, so we get some great stuff from them. So looking forward to doing these releases. We try and bring them out whenever we can, but there's only so many barrels available. So
it's another hot secret you've given away.
Like the hot secrets,
Do you
Jace.
want to see?
Do you want to see the Seafarer barrel?
Yeah.
Have a quick look.
The salty seafarer.
There's another question from Kevin. Do you guys do any red wine cask whiskies?
That's all we've tasted today is red wine,
Yep.
cask whiskies,
Yep.
matured. So yeah, check out Nova, check out Twofold. They're all aged in red wine casks.
Fully matured.
Fully matured.
Fully matured.
Yep.
Seafarer. So this gnarly looking barrel spent
I don't know.
a year on a boat.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. On the deck of Queen Elizabeth III or something.
A big boat.
Big boat. And then we released the whiskey that came out the other end. This was Seafarer. It's a pretty special whiskey. Really fun to see what it did on a boat. Saw some really hot weather. Saw some really cold weather. Saw a lot of salt, as you can see from the copper. And a really big change in humidity as well, with moisture coming on the deck. Pretty big losses, but pretty fast maturation as well. There would have been movement in the barrel as well, so you're kind of giving it all these additional tools to basically mature quicker. So that was a pretty interesting exercise. Not something we could do on a big scale, but fun nonetheless.
Maybe if someone had enough money, they could just have a distillery on a boat and just drive it around everywhere.
It's pretty good. Radio station on the boat.
Made it out of oak.
Yeah.
Big oak boat.
Do you want to see if we can find some octaves, and then I reckon maybe we
Yeah.
look at the old still and check out the bar quickly, Jace.
I think there is some octanes up here, Sam.
So octaves are 100-litre barrels, and we get them from one winery that uses them, but they're not a common size. So whenever we can get them, we get them. Yeah, octaves, 100 litres, mostly American oak. Fantastic barrels, really.
Big fan of those. So yeah, that's our octaves there. This guy's had a bit too much to drink.
Yep.
That's a lot of flavour. Yeah.
Question from Clark. How long does it take from the finished matured barrels to the bottle/shelf?
Yeah, good question. Not that long. Like, we'll pull out whiskey, we'll basically cut it down, and we'll hold it for a little bit of time, so a couple of days. We'll chill it down, we'll hold it cold for a day, then we'll filter it, and then it's bright whiskey, and then we'll hold it for another couple of days, and then it'll get packaged. So, not much more than a week, to be honest, between coming out of barrel and going into pack. Yeah, we find that those little hold periods are really beneficial, but we don't need to go too long with those periods. So once it's ready to come out, it's pretty quick. We're gonna go have a look at our original spirit still. Then we'll stop into the bar. Maybe Jace can have his beer, and then we'll. Any final questions? And I think we'll say goodbye.
Question on the barrels. Are the rows of barrel batches?
No. Nah. We normally fill. Actually, we've got another warehouse now over in in Brooklyn. But it normally takes us about a month to fill a batch. I wish we could do batches that big. That would be fantastic. We're just going to go check out our old spirit still. That's located in the bar.
A question from Joe. What is the average number of casks used per batch filling?
About 20 to 30. Yeah. Yep.
So going back to our other question with a row, I think a column is 5 high, so that's 20 barrels. So a batch is probably a column. We do batch our spirit production, so over a week, and we do that for consistency reasons as well. So we just batch it up. So if we have maybe a not so good spirit run, we can blend it out, kind of thing. So we'll batch it. Huh?
What's that?
This is our old spirit still. Take it away, Sam.
Yeah, so this is our old spirit still. So this is the original one that we had at Essendon Field. So 600 litre Nap Lure. We've cleaned it up since we put it in the bar. It didn't used to look this shiny. You still going there, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. But you can see the jacket here. So this is kind of the original jacket we put on. Really helped us control the reflux. So getting a bit of a cleaner spirit and having better control of the reflux ratio in an environment that gets really hot and really cold. The temperature changes how that works. So we basically put cold water in the top and let it out the top. And the rate that we run that at kind of controls how much of the vapor adheres getting condensed and dropping that down. So that's a really good tool for us, and we've used that on our spirit still now, and we're going to get it retrofitted again on our new spirit still. So that's been fantastic.
Question from Stephen. Potentially needs to get in touch with the whiskey shop, but can we purchase a barrel for something special?
I'd get in touch
barrel?
with the whiskey shop, and
Yeah.
they might be able to chat to people there and figure out what goes on.
Yeah.
Let's go check out the bar, Jace.
Alright.
Question from Paul. Do you keep the tradition going from Scotland that workers at the distillery have a dram at brekkie, one at lunch, and then another at close of the day?
Probably not quite that much because we have to drive forklifts. But we try to adhere a little to that. So
No, it's very, we do a lot of sensory work, so we've got to try the product and make sure it's good. So pretty much 7:30 every day we'll do a tasting of the wash and the spirit for that day. We do a lot of barrel tasting and sensory work, but we've got to be really careful of alcohol in the workplace and managing heavy equipment and machinery. So we all love whiskey, but at the same time we've got to be pretty careful about what we're doing, so we manage that.
it would get pretty tiring too. That's a lot of whiskey to drink.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be good for your health
I think
or
it's
your family or anyone involved.
changed a lot since the old days, but it used to be pretty wild territory, but thankfully, it's not that acceptable anymore, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Question from Kevin. Are you doing single malt whiskies or are you doing blended whiskies?
So both, Kevin. We do twofold, which is a blended whiskey, so wheat and malts. I'm just going to get some water. And then we do single malt as well. So Nova is single malt, and most of our whiskies are single malt. So what we make here is all single malt whiskey, and then we get wheat spirit from a distillery we work with, and that's how we make twofold.
Do you ever use casks from other distilleries?
It's something we do a little bit, and we're looking at doing a bit more. We really enjoy it, being able to work with other distilleries and make interesting whiskies. So we've had some rum barrels in the past. We've had apple brandy barrels. We've had, where else have we got barrels from?
Barrels from different single malt distills as well, down in Tassie. I think you nailed it all. Cognac.
Yeah.
I would love to try tequila. I'd love, anything. If anyone's distilling something out there and wants to give us a barrel to play with, bring it on.
And Ryan
Rum,
bourbon as well.
Rum and bourbon.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of rum produced in Australia, particularly up north, so
Yeah.
pretty easy to get rum barrels. Yeah.
So this is our bar. Come in for a dram or a cocktail, have a chat. We might be here.
Yeah, we might be here.
We might be here.
Yeah.
Maybe shout out from the question. Any last questions?
Any last questions, guys, before we pack it up?
Wrap that up.
Thanks to the whiskey shop for putting on this this live stream. It's actually been pretty good. Question of the day, Jace.
I don't know, I have to think about it. We need to come up with a question of the day. Has anyone been keeping track of the questions we answered?
Question of the day.
We can go through them and get in
Oh,
touch.
someone's asked a lot of questions as well. Question of the day. Yeah. Question of the day. We're still open for questions, so get them in now. This is a rip snorter of a question.
Haven't been stumped yet, have we?
Never stumped Sam. Just make it up, even if we were. No, this has been a lot of fun. We've had a good time. We should do more of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll come back for the winner.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll have a think about the question of the day.
We'll reach out.
There's been quite a bit, but we'll definitely reach out. Yeah.
Through the whiskey shop, get in touch with them, and we'll reach out that way. All right, thanks a lot, guys. It's been great fun. See you later.